Hi, welcome back to NDG Live. I'm your host, Jackie Hardy. In this segment of Backstage Chatter, we are so honored to be speaking with Sharae Moultrie. Sharae discusses with us her journey to the stage as well as her role in the Broadway series of Girl from the North Country, where she plays one of the main characters, Marianne Lane. She talks about how thrilling it is to be a part of a what New York Times exclaims profoundly beautiful production. Thank you for watching, and remember you can head over to broadwaydallas.org to purchase tickets, and Girl from the North Country will be here in our fair city showing at Music Hall at Fair Park from April 9th through April 21st. Thank you. So thank you, Ms. Sharae, for being here. As a part of our Backstage Chatter is a segment that we have on our channel called NDG Live. So I was reading a little bit about your bio. You hail from South Carolina,
Yes,
correct?
correct.
Yeah,
Yes,
so girl from the South. We like that.
that's right.
Exactly. But what I was so impressed with, of course, you have a great resume of work, a body of work that you've done. But what I loved was that you literally took a leap of faith. Like you completely changed your career,
Mhm,
right? Tell
mhm.
us about that. That's like really, truly, yeah, trusting, right? And stepping out and betting on yourself to a degree.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think, I have a crazy journey. I started my start was in church and in theater and high school. And I always thought it was great and had a lot of fun doing it, but didn't really think it could be a career per se. But so I studied finance, did that for some years, and then I realized I missed being on stage. I was like, okay, I'm living in New York. What can I do? How can I get back into this performing life? And I really did just kind of go work from the ground up and kind of figure out what I needed to do to audition, to have the right kind of repertoire, to be singing at these auditions, et cetera. And then, once I started to learn a little bit more, make some connections and meet people, I took a leap of faith. And, for the past year and a half now, almost 2 years, I've been a full-time artist. For a couple years before that, I was sort of juggling a 9 to 5 career and doing musical theater on the side. And as I booked more and more things and, the love continued to grow, I was like, okay, I think this is what I want to do for real, full time. And yeah, trusting God and knowing that He gave me these gifts for a reason. And so knowing that I knew I had the confidence to take the leap.
Wow, that is incredible. I just love that. And we are a minority owned and operated organization, media organization. And so our primary audience is minorities. And so what I just love in your message that I think will resonate with audiences is that listen to that brown or black girl or boy, for that matter, you are worth be investing, right? Yeah, when you have those gifts, it is worth stepping out on faith and going for it. And I love that because oftentimes society may tell us differently, right? Even culture, honestly. And so I just love your story, and it's inspiring to me. I just wanted to say that personally. Yeah. Yeah. And so, kind of getting into the actual, of course, while we're kind of talking, which is the musical Girl from the North Country. I love, the fact that this is centered around the music per se on Bob Dylan. And I know to many Americans, Bob Dylan is like the soundtrack to their lives, right? And so, how has it been just being a part of a production that celebrates his music in this way? Yeah.
Really great. Growing up, I didn't necessarily listen to Bob Dylan, but I knew who he was, of course, and had, some knowledge of some of the major songs that he has. But I've really grown to appreciate and really love the lyricism that he has and how he makes such simple life so beautiful and so poetic. So it's been really great exploring his music and sort of the ways that our show transforms his music in a different way. It's a little bit more soulful. It's a little bit more current day. It's really
Right.
it's a really interesting way that we are able to incorporate his work with our style and everything like that.
Absolutely. No, that is really cool. Absolutely. And I'm sure it makes it even multi-generational too, you know? Yeah, because there are young people that will listen to it that may not would, right? Because of that sound is yeah, relevant to today's sound. Yeah, and so do you have a favorite Bob Dylan song? And if so, yeah, I'd love to know why. I know you probably get asked that a lot, so I appreciate
Yeah.
you indulging our audience.
Yes, of course, of course. I think one of my favorites is this song called "I Want You."
Okay.
I love how it is when you hear just Bob Dylan sing it, but I really, really love how our show has transformed the song. It's now a duet. It's between the character who plays my brother and his long lost love, essentially. And
Okay.
it's just the arrangement is so gorgeous and so beautiful. And I think the simplicity of the words "I want you"
Yeah.
will resonate with a lot of people. It's, I want something. That "I want" song is always that one that kind of that registers a little bit more for me, and I feel like for a lot of audience members as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, that's really cool. And I know your part is Marianne Lane. Yes. And can you kind of talk about your role and just kind of how your character kind of plays a part in the bigger storyline? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so Marianne Lane is the adopted daughter of Elizabeth and Nick Lane. And Elizabeth and Nick are the folks who run this guest house that everybody has ended up living in for this short amount of time. And Marianne is really the train that keeps everything going.
Okay.
She is the hard worker. She is the one making sure that everybody has their coffee and that her mother, who is dealing with an illness, is okay. And then she also has her own challenges. She's a pregnant 19-year-old. And so you'll learn in the show, how you potentially learn how it happens, and all of the challenges that she's dealing with there. But really, it is her character. She is trying to figure out, how do I make sure that everything is okay with my family and this household, but then how do I also save room for what's important to me and that desire for something more. Again, I want something bigger than what I have right now.
Yeah, sure. Now, how satisfying has it been for you to play that role, right? Because I'm sure it touches on several emotions, right, that you have to kind of bring to the stage. Yeah,
Mhm.
and how has being a part even maybe, I guess, personally affected you? Do you have any kind of testimony to that?
Yeah, it's been such a joy and an honor to get to bring this role to the stage. I think, Marianne has so many different sides to her, similar to myself, right? I think that, when you meet her, you see obviously that she's the hard worker, but then you start to see some of the layers be pulled because of her interactions with certain people. She's a little comfortable around this person versus another. And then she realizes, I think, that she has power in her voice and she can make decisions for her own life. And, we talked about how I've sort of made different leaps of faith and things like that. I think Marianne has a similar journey in that she has to figure out what's the right next step. And she doesn't necessarily know everything that's going to happen. So she has to sort of trust that everything's going to work out in the end.
Ah, that's good. No, that's really good. And I know so many people can relate to that. Yeah. And even just kind of carrying the weight of the world sometimes on yourself that you forget about. Yeah,
Right.
caring for you and your needs. So I love that it kind of takes us through the evolution of her. Yeah, recognizing that. Yeah. And I know this is set in the time period of the 1930s during the Great Depression. Yeah, and so it kind of gives the audience, would you say, a peek into kind of what people were dealing with during that national crisis? Yeah, because that's a very real, time in history. And can you kind of speak to that? And because I know you don't really see, I think, the effects of some of those historical events, particularly in that part of the country, right? Because you're kind of in the middle of America, and so can you kind of talk to, yeah, the just some of the perspective it brings being in a rural or middle of America, yeah, going through that national crisis.
Yeah, it's really interesting that, all of the characters, just about all of them, are sort of travelers, wayward travelers. They're trying to go from, their hometown and trying to figure out a new life, right?
Right.
And in some way, they've ended up at this rundown boarding house. It's the only thing that they can afford to stay in. There's a scene in the show where someone says that he's okay with just sleeping in a chair. He doesn't need a whole room to himself. He doesn't need a full bed. He is fine just sleeping in a chair because he just needs a place to stay, a roof over their head. And you're just thinking about the desperation that those individuals who really dealt with this time period had to deal with. It's really remarkable, and it also it moves me that despite all of the challenges and hardship that they go through, that there are moments of joy and humor
Mm.
and laughter. And
Oh,
so it's a good reminder that despite the challenges we may face and the hard times we may all experience at some point, there's still always a glimmer of hope and always a little bit of joy to hold on to through those hard times.
that's good. Yeah, no, that is so good. And certainly a reminder that, you can get through it together. Yeah,
Exactly.
that's awesome. Yeah, and there's probably, I would say, some central themes in the play too, because I know it touches on a little bit of addiction, right? Yeah, so can you kind of talk to some of the central themes in the play that are relevant to today, some of the, social or certainly personal issues that we kind of deal with.
Yeah, so I mentioned that my Marianne's mother, Elizabeth, is dealing with an illness. So
Yeah.
in the show, it doesn't specifically name it, but it kind of it's inferred that it's dementia or something like that, where she's losing a little bit of herself and her memory and things like that. And dementia actually runs in my family on my father's side. So it's been really interesting just seeing how my counterpart actor has been incorporating, those elements to her character and just sort of thinking about in the 1930s having to deal with that. They're probably, I'm not even sure if they knew what that name was there at that
Very
point.
true. Yeah.
So it's really interesting just how so many of the things that we're dealing with today, were relevant or
Right.
problems that existed back then, even whether or not we
Absolutely.
had a name for them or not.
That's it. And it humanizes it too, because we live in this social media driven world, and you see these things, but sometimes you don't really, realize that's a human being, that is dealing with some of these things. And so, yeah, art has a way of helping us kind of really take that in. Yeah, to some degree. Absolutely. Yeah. And this show is just, I mean, critics love it, audience alike love it. I mean, what is it like to be a part of such a critically acclaimed show? Like, yeah, do you pinch yourself from time to time,
Every now and then, yes. And I think on top of the great show, it's the people that I get to work with, both on the stage and behind the scenes. They're all, super professionals, just extremely talented, very kind and supportive of each other. Being on a tour, and we're on tour for about a year, it's important to like the people that you're around. And I'm so grateful.
They become family.
Yeah, that everyone here is so wonderful to be around, and it's such a joy and an honor to get to tell this story on stage with them and to hear their talented voices with the music of Bob Dylan and just the power of this story, the simplicity and the power of this story, I think, and how it resonates with audience members is really a treat.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm sure just something that right now and all that's going on in our world is in a way probably encouraging, and brings a little bit of hope. Yeah, yeah, because we can all use that. Yeah. And do you have family here in the Texas DFW area?
Not
It's
in the
such a big
Texas
state. So,
area. Yeah, I have a
oh,
few friends, some college
okay.
friends who have moved in the area, so I hope to see them at a show and grab coffee or a drink
That's
after,
right.
the
Yeah,
thing.
because you're gonna be here for a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
I
I'm
know.
excited to explore the city as well. I've never been, so
Oh,
I'm
you haven't. Well, you got to
Mhm.
get some barbecue. You got to
Yes.
make sure you get some.
You have to let me
That's
know
right.
the exact spot to go.
Yes, that's right. And Tex-Mex, which it's on every
Ah,
corner, so you will not have a problem finding a
right.
good Tex-Mex. Yeah, no, that is great. We're so happy to have you in our fair city. Literally, yeah, Sheree. And I guess my last question I always like to ask is why should someone go see this production? I always love to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah, people should come see Girl from the North Country because it is a human story. It's one
Mm,
that I think people can relate to because we all go through challenges and we all eventually find out that when we're together, we can get through those challenges a little bit better. And so there's a little bit of hope, a little bit of laughter, a little bit of maybe some cheers too.
yeah.
I think people will really enjoy this show. And the talent is just
Yeah.
remarkable, truly.
Absolutely. Just a 2 hour escape, right? That's right. They owe it to themselves. Well, thank you so much, Sheree,
Of
for
course.
just your time. I know you're going to continue to soar on the stage. So I wish you all the best.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
you are so
Wonderful
welcome.
meeting you.
You too. Enjoy your time here in the great state of Texas. Take
Take
care.
care.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye. What a pleasure it was to speak with Adelco Award nominee for Best Featured Actress in a Musical, Sharae Moultrie. You can see Sharae and the entire cast of Girl from the North Country at Music Hall at Fair Park from April 9th through April 21st. For ticket information, again, head over to broadwaydallas.org. Thanks again for watching.